Hello everyone, my name is Boerescu and I'm a senior solutions consultant at Appian based out of London, UK. Today's topic for this video is what are the top 3 features that I personally think are worthwhile mentioning of our latest release, the 24.3. Now, the main part of our last release consisted of case management studio features, but I still believe there are a lot of good features that were released for the platform in particular. Now, this is not necessarily a top, but I've cherry-picked the features that I think are the most important for me personally, and I'm going to use going forward in my demos or POCs. Now, these 3 features that I've selected are managing source data in the new data preview page, managing record types in the data catalog, the new AI Copilot in Data Fabric, and of course, a top 3 isn't a top 3 without having a bonus features also. We're going to be speaking of the elevation of the multi-pane experiences by adding headers. It is basically a new root layout that allows you to individually scroll vertically, but we'll see more when we get there. Let's get started with the first feature, managing the source data in the new data preview page. Now, I have specifically created an application for this video. It is called 24.3 top 3. We don't have any objects except the security groups. And I'm going to go ahead and create a record type just to showcase what this feature is about. So let's call this generic case record. And I'm not particularly interested in adding data fields to this record, but one in particular. So we're going to be starting from scratch. We are going to sync this. I'm going to leave the out-of-the-box fields here, but I am going to create a new choice list, and I'll use the commonly used one for status. So we see here not started, in progress, and done. Now, what happens here is that the new record type will be created, and a relationship between these 2 record types will be created as well. And if we hit next and next, save the changes. Now our record type has been created. And we can see here the relationship to key status and the user one because we are using the created by user and modified by user. Now, where does this feature come into place? Let's say we are halfway in our project and we decide there are other statuses that we want to capture. We currently just have a couple of them. So if I go back to my application and if I go to my objects and my case status, if I open the list over here, we're going to see immediately that we have only the ones that we've specified initially, which were the draft one, not started, in progress, and the done one. Now, the way that we used to do this before was to go to the database and search for our record type and go ahead and insert a couple of values here, then go back to our record type, sync the record, and then the data will appear there, or just wait for the scheduled sync to happen, and then we would have the new updated records. Now, with this new feature, we've got a new tab over here under data called Data Preview, which we can open, and we can edit one of the existing entries, or we can add a new row. So let's say we want to add a draft, and as sort order, let's put it as 4. I am going to add it, write the changes, and that's it. We didn't have to go ahead and update the database manually, resync the record. We didn't have to create any management interfaces to add or update the records. It's all here in the data preview. I personally think that this should have been here from the release of the record object type, but better late than never. So this will save a lot of time. And again, it's great for reference data. I wouldn't recommend you going ahead and updating your operational data or live data by using this functionality. Now, moving on to feature number 2, which is the managing of the record types in data catalog. Now, you might be familiar with Process HQ that comes with Process Insights and Data Fabric Insights. Now, if we look here, we don't have any data sets available in our data fabric. If I go to the data catalog, I do not have any records available whatsoever. That is because they haven't been made available. The way that we would make these available on the record type object, we would have to go to the Workspaces tab and check this little box here to show the record as a data set in Data Fabric Insights. Now imagine you have 50 records. You would have to manually go ahead and click all of them. Now, luckily, this feature makes things easier. So if we navigate to our Data Governance tab, we can see here all of the record types that are in the system. So if I go ahead and search for the ones that start with AA, for instance, which are part of an automobile application, and I select them all, just make sure these two aren't caught on, I have the option here of showing in the data catalog. Or I can individually go and toggle this switch of showing it in the data catalog or not. Now, if I move back to the data catalog, I see all of my records, the record types over here. So I can go ahead and generate my reports, share them with my colleagues, and so on. Pretty neat, saves a lot of time. Now, the third feature that I wanted to showcase today was the new AI Copilot in Data Fabric. And you might have actually seen this pop-up appear in the video a couple of times now, which is a quick introduction on how to use AI Copilot for Data Fabric. I highly encourage you to go ahead and watch it for yourself in your environment. I'm just going to close it here. This feature basically introduces AI Copilot across the Data Fabric. Now, you might be familiar with Records Chat, where you could put a chat component on your summary screen and talk with it within the context of a record, within the context of an instance of the record, so a single entry. Now, this you can use across your data fabric, so across multiple record types. So let's go ahead and ask it a simple question like, what is the vehicle with the highest number of maintenance events? Let's see what it comes back with. The response is the vehicle with the highest number of maintenance events is the Hyundai Sonata with 3 maintenance events. Now, the cool thing about this feature is that it actually provides an answer on how it got to that answer. So let's see the details. I determined the answer to the question by querying the dataset and joining it with another dataset to get a count of distinct events for each vehicle. The query grouped the results by vehicle make and model, sorted them by maintenance count, descending order, and thus showing the highest number of maintenance events at the top. So this is pretty neat. This is how you can double check that the response that the AI provided is the right one and that the relationships are the correct ones defined between the record types. Now, I wouldn't expect any business users to go ahead and go into this level of detail, but it's just comforting that you can actually see what is the logic behind the scenes. Now, this is just an example, right? You can ask questions that might group together multiple data sets and get the answer that you need in no time. Now, these were the top 3 features that I wanted to walk you through today, but we do have the bonus one. Now, the bonus one was regarding the panes. Now, the panes were actually released a couple of releases ago, but you weren't able to have panes with a header, that being with a billboard header or with a card header. Now, the great thing about this is that it will make your interface look better. And now, the great thing about this release is that it brings the header component to panes. let's go ahead and look at a simple use case on how we would use this. What I have here is a simple record type that mimics an email message. We have a subject, a body, a to address, a from address, a date, a folder ID. This would be your inbox, your spam folder, your sent folder, and if the email is read or not. We also have some data pre-populated with our generate sample data functionality that we've looked at in our previous video. So let's go ahead and build a simple interface that would allow us to navigate through these messages in a sort of a email client way. So coming back to our interface, what we could do is just go ahead and drag these panes over here. And in my header content layout, I would actually replace this with another one that it is a bit more relevant. Let me go ahead and see what we have here in the header. I can just remove the billboard layout for here and I'll add something else. Now, before starting to add components, I do want to add an extra pane. So I will add an extra pane here in the middle. Let's make these a bit narrower. So we're gonna make this narrow. The first one that is going to have the list of folders. We are going to make this one medium, and we'll just leave the other one as is. All right, so let's go ahead and put some components on. Now, I will make use of some components that I have in my design library that are part of the Dataless design components. If you're not aware of what is Dataless design components, I invite you to navigate to Appian community and search for Dataless in the App Market. And you have here the Dataless starter kit for your design library. Now, this was created by my colleague, David Hillier, and it is a great utility and starter kit for you to use in your design libraries. As part of these components, we have a lot of Dataless components like comments or documents list or editable drill downs. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to use the ones specifically for this use case. So the first one that I want to use is actually a cool header that is called the calling header. I'm just going to drag and drop it over here. Whoop. Sorry about that. Let's add here a card, and yes, I will add it in the card. Now, once you put in one of these interfaces, you have to configure the rule inputs. For instance, what is the site title? So I'm gonna hard code this as yet another email client. What is the page title? We're gonna leave that blank. We're not gonna use any theme. And the icon, I think I'm gonna hard code an icon for an email envelope, and I hope I get this right. It is going to be envelope-o. Let's see how that looks like. Great. So I've got over here the date, I've got welcome Alex, which is my first name, I've got the name of the app, and I've got the icon. I don't really like the panning here, so I'm going to go to the card and I will say that I do not want any padding. Yes, that looks a bit better, doesn't it? Okay, so let's start building our email client over here. So out of the Dataless design components, I am going to put in the message folders over here. Now, there are some things that we have to configure. So before doing that, we need to create a couple of local variables. And I'm going to create a local variable for the selected folder, because once we select the folder, we're going to show the messages from that folder. And I'm going to create a variable called the selected message, because once we are going to select the message, we're going to display that message in the display pane. Alrighty. So let's put in the folders again over here. And the save into would be our selected folder. The record type, this would be the record type of our messages. Now, the great thing about the Dataless components is that you can pass in as rule inputs even record types or record type fields, rather than just the classic objects like a number or a text or even objects themselves. So here I'm going to put in the record type, a message. Now, what is the folder field from this record type? I'm just going to quickly copy this one, and this would be the folder field will be part of the relationships folder, and the folder field value, because it is a reference record type. What is the message ID field? This would be part of the message fields and ID. Theme and sort field, we don't really care about that. Well, actually for the sort field, we do care. So let's put the sort field, we will put the folder ID. So it will sort the folders by their IDs. So let's see how that looks like. All right, no errors, that's good. So we've got our folders: inbox, draft, send, favorites, spam, and bin. So if we click here, I do want to remove the padding, and now it looks a bit better. So let's see, if we select inbox, we can see that our folder has been correctly populated over here. Good. Now, let's go ahead and put in the message list and configure it. Message from field. This is going to be an expression as well. Message, and we've got our from address over here. I'm going to copy this. Message to field. It is going to be our to field or to address. Message subject. That would be our subject. Message created on. That would be our created on field. Do we have date? We do have a date field. The value. Now, this is the list of messages. So we are going to have to get the list of messages from somewhere, which is what I forgot to do, but no worries. We can create a record for that. The record type of the message, this would be again our record type. The message is read field. Now, whenever you click on one of these messages, it will actually make the message read. So let's put in the is read field. The save into, this is the selected message, so we can put it in the selected message. We're not going to provide any paging info, any total count or theme. We're just going to use the defaults. Now, I think it's not going to work because we haven't provided the value yet. Yes, but first things first, let's remove the padding here and make it like that. And let's go ahead and create a new local variable to get our messages. We have list of, I'll just call it messages, and we're gonna create a query record type. Now, what I like to do when using the query record type is actually go ahead and go through the wizard, but that's not available in this specific screen. So I'm just going to create the local variable here. I'm going to switch to expression mode. And once I click here in the record type, I do have this wizard over here, the launch query editor. So I'm going to go ahead and launch it, search for my DEA message, hit continue. I want to get all of these details, but I do want to filter. Let's get the folder details as well. And I do want to filter by by the folder. So I'm going to say that the folder value has to be equal to our local selected folder. Local selected folder. There we go. Let's see if it works. Great, it does work. So I'm going to leave this ignore filter with empty values true because initially we're not going to have any selected folders, so we want to show all the messages. I'm just going to hit generate query, and out of this I actually want to get only the data, so not all the metadata that it comes back with. So let's test it out. And we can see here on the right side that we have 50 messages. Now, let's go back to design. Once we click in our pane over here in the list of components, in our Dataless message inbox list, I'm going to go ahead and for the value provide this list of messages. So that would be local messages. Excellent. So now we see, if we switch to preview, we've got our inbox. We've got our inbox, we got our draft, we've got our list of messages. So let's see what happens when we select the bin ones, for instance. So this automatically changes because it brings back all the messages from the bin. Inbox, draft, sent, favorites, and spam. Okay, so for spam, we actually do have a couple of messages. Yes, so that is great. Let's go back to our edit interface and put in the message read pane, message reading pane. So we're going to drag this here and let's configure the inputs. Now, just as we've done with the other components, we have to specify some of the components, like what is the message? The message is the selected message. Now, the idea is that this shows now, this pane shows the default interface when nothing is selected, but if the message is empty, let's go ahead and configure it to basically don't show anything. So we're going to configure the visibility of this pane to only show when it's not null or empty of our local selected message. So this looks a bit cleaner. Okay, let's go into preview mode. And we now have, can I make it a narrow desktop over here? Let's see how that, excellent. That looks way better. Okay. Now, the idea is that when I click one of these messages, the message details will appear on the right. And if they do, tariff changes, supply disruption, late supplier payment. So it works perfectly. And I can also change the folders from here. Now, the main reason why I wanted to build this yet another email client was to showcase the fact that you can individually scroll through these. But I see now that they're a bit high. So let's see how we can modify that to actually showcase this functionality. Now, if I go to my pane, let's see the pane layout. The header content layout. No padding. I've got the card layout, so maybe I need to put it in this specific tablet format. Let's see. No, this still scrolls the whole interface rather than just the pane. Fixed header on scrolling. Got the width. I think we just probably need more data here. So let's just go ahead and add more data to our messages. So if we generate some more sample data, there is a fixed length apparently for the panes. So I'll just go ahead and generate some more data, and then we'll have more data to show for each of the folders, and ideally we would see that work. So let's do 25 more or 50 more records and generate messages in the context of a supply chain process. Refresh all data. Now, because my prefix, the prefix of this record type is DEA, it generates messages in the context of DEA. You can see even in the email addresses. There we go. Insert the data. And if we do a quick search here, it takes a couple of seconds to insert the data. So if there we go, we have 60 now. And yeah, let's go ahead and see how our interface looks like. All right, so see, now because we're using the pane layout, and I'll just move it to preview mode, we have enough messages for this individual scroll to appear here. So you can individually scroll the panes rather than the whole component as we see here. Alrighty. Now, this is all I wanted to walk you through today. Again, the top 3 features, the ability to now update or add data directly in the record object, the ability to show the records in Data Fabric Insights without having to individually check that workspace box, and the AI Copilot, and as a bonus, which was the lengthy one, the new pane experience with the headers. I hope this was useful for you. If it was, again, you know the YouTube drill, share, like, and subscribe. Please comment with other ideas that you might have and you might want us to create videos on. Again, I highly encourage you to go ahead and check the Dataless design components. We're going to put it in the description as well. And Dave actually has a couple of videos on how to use them. I hope you found this useful, and I'll see you again in the next video. Take care. Bye.